Alright, what's up guys? New day again. So, been taking my time a little bit on this just so I don't tire myself out. But what we're gonna do today, we're gonna finish up doing the head gasket on this joint right here. So, as you can tell, it's kind of been raining a little bit. It's kind of random spring, summer storm. So, let's go ahead and try to knock it out. Alright, so we left off with getting the head onto the block with the head gasket and the head bolts in, but not fully torqued down. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go ahead and torque those down in the sequence. I'll show you all the proper sequence for that. We're going to put in our rockers, then we're going to put on our cams, degree those right, make sure that we have our crank at top dead center. I'll try to show you all that if I have enough light, and then bolt all our cams down. After you do that, we're pretty much good to go. So we're in the home stretch right about now. So let's get it. All right, so now we got all of our head bolts kind of run down in. Big note, you need to make sure you put, if you're not using ARP head studs, a lot of service manuals recommend that you put a little bit of motor oil on the ends of the bolts, on the threads, just so you can have proper lubrication when you're torquing these things down. You really don't want these things to start binding up, because that's when you get false torque readings, or worse, broken head bolts. And that's a pain in the ass to try to get out if you can. So what we're going to do now is the B20 Z2 requires a two-stage torque sequencing. What we got going on now, we're going to go ahead and hit it with the first stage of 22 pounds. And all you gotta do is just check your service manual or Haynes or the internet, because that's the thing, and it should tell you what it should be at and in what order. So here we go. All right, so starting off right here. Mosquitoes are fierce today. You want to go to your click. Yep, there it goes. And you don't want to go too fast, because you want to make sure that you're getting a good solid torque reading. You don't, and if you go too fast, you can kind of compress some of the oils that could be trying to slip past. Okay, there goes another one. So you really don't want to do that. You really don't want to rush yourself during this process, just because if you rush yourself here, you're going to cause yourself some pain later in a non-running car. So this is number 3. All right, so one thing that I want y'all to listen for, when you heard that little bit of kind of like, not necessarily a popping, but kind of like a little bit of a sticking, that's why you should lubricate your head studs or head bolts. Because if not, it can stick there and it may not be all the way run down, and you can keep trying to put torque on it and it can snap. So make sure you lubricate your stuff. So we're gonna keep rocking. All right, so we got the first stage done. So now all we have to do is go ahead and go back around. This time, instead of going at 22 pounds, we're gonna go all the way up to 63 pounds. So same order, same technique, making sure that we don't go too fast, being precise on this thing. So here we go. All right, so now we got all that done. So what we can do now, recommend y'all checking over y'all's work, double checking everything at the final torque level, making sure everything is properly torqued, because you really don't want, like I said, you really don't have to take all this shit apart and having to do it over again just because you're impatient or you forgot something. So it's easier to go ahead and double check now, make sure your stuff is right, and get on with your life, rather than having to, you know, spend your free time, of which you could be, I don't know, like playing video games, or doing something like successful, or doing something productive for humanity, or I don't know, making memes on the internet. You can be doing something else other than trying to redo some stuff you've already done before. So double check your work on this, especially this area. This is a very important portion of your engine, of your car really. So just double check that. So now after I double check everything that I did, we're gonna go ahead and kind of clean up some of the previous oil deposits and stuff that were on the cam journals, and we can go ahead and start popping in our rockers, and then we can put in our cams. All right, so now we can go ahead and start cleaning off our cam bearing areas. So I've already done these. Just pop them down with an old rag and some isopropyl alcohol. So that's all you really gotta do. Nothing super space age, nothing super expensive or any extreme technique. If you can wipe your bum, you can do this. So I'm gonna go back to, you know, getting up in there, making sure get all the mating surfaces, especially for the cam caps. Make sure we get those. And just trying to be tidy. So there's nothing super major. Just a little bit of housekeeping, if you will. So once we got that, boom, that's all nice. And then right here, got that one. Boom, we're good to go. So now we can go ahead and put our rockers on. So we're this much closer to getting this thing backfired up and seeing how this thing actually runs. Before I took the head off, it actually ran really good. It had a good power, really good response, good low end torque. So now it should be even better. So can't wait. All right, so got my box of lifters right here. I did them in order, pretty much where they were at, kind of on the engine. So tried to keep them in order, but it doesn't really matter since we're going to, this is a new head. So that side is intake, that side is exhaust. They should be all the same, so it shouldn't really matter too much. So let's go ahead and plop these Johnnies on. So let's see if I can try and do this thing one-handed like. So all you really have to do in order to put these on is really simple. So see this little ball right here? Put that into this cup. So all you do is boom. That's it. Like I said, nothing super extravagant. Just gotta make sure your stuff is clean. Put them in. And you probably should do a valve lash adjustment a little later on, but for now we just want to get this thing in here so we can actually get it running to do a valve lash. So again, just boom, boom, nothing super major. You do, however, want to make sure that your surfaces are clean. These things are going to be ticking around a lot, so you don't want to have a bunch of dirt and grime in there. So better the contact surfaces on this, the longer it will live, the happier you'll be, the happier the car will be, the more upset your opponent will be, because hopefully you'll be gapping them. Probably not with the stock B20, but in any case, you'll be getting everything done. So again, just boom and boom. Ooh, that one's a little crunchy. Looks like it needs to clean this little area off. So plop that, make sure it's good. Plop that Johnny in. Boom, golden. So last set for the intake, then we can move on to the exhaust. So that funny story, that yellow box is actually an electronics organizer, or electronics connection organizer. Got it from a buddy. I don't think he really remembers it. Nico, if you want this back, just let me know. So yeah, serves its purpose well. Good for temporary parts storage. Kind of keeps things organized, especially when you're not working with more than 4 cylinders, and boom, intake size is done. So all these things are going to kind of look a little wobbly. That's because they'll straighten up once you put the cam on them. And I'll show you the cams in a second. They have lobes that come down and actually press on these surfaces, which actually actuates the valves that you see here. So don't worry about the angle of that. As long as they're relatively pointing up, the cam will correct itself, or correct those. All right, so exhaust side, literally same thing as intake. So I don't think y'all really want to watch me do another thing of those. So we'll just cut forward to something else more interesting. So probably with the cam splitting in. So right now. All right, so now we're at the point we get to install the bump stick. So all we're really doing is just kind of setting this in place for right now. I mean, it's nothing super special. We just want to set them in place first, make sure everything is kind of still kind of moving smooth, and then we can go ahead and install the caps and torque those down. And there's a specific sequence for that, and I'll try to show you all that as well. So we'll sit this on. Orientation doesn't really matter too much, because when we go to time up this thing, we'll fine adjust it. So just kind of get it in, like, you know, the right area code at least, or better yet, to make it easier on yourself, in a position that doesn't require or doesn't make any contact with any of the lifters, because that will make things a little hard. So about right there should do it. So then I guess while you're here, you can kind of push that cap in some. So yeah. So quick tip, even though I'm not going to be using these cam caps, you always want to use the cam caps that came off the head. A cool thing that you can do to keep track of your cam caps and your bolts is using an old box or some kind of cardboard. All you have to do is just punch a hole through them, and boom, they're still there. They don't really go anywhere. You can jostle them around, you'll still be okay. So now we're going to get the exhaust cam, and bam. Take this Johnny over here and just set it down in some form. Like I said, it doesn't really matter too much, as long as you don't make like a terrible hash of things. I'll show you how to time this thing in a second, but I do want to kind of show y'all that most of these cams do have an arrow that shows y'all terrible lighting, but you should be able to see it right here. Should be a little mark that says up on the end of the cam. So like right there. So yeah, cool. All right, so as you can see, I already kind of got some of the cam caps on. So all you really have to do is do it with this one. Oop, well, I guess I'll put that one over here. So set that one down, and there are self-aligning pins in this, so all I gotta do is just kind of line those up, put those in. You know, don't force them on. Also, don't wedge them off. Previous owner looks like he's done that, so but we should still be okay. So one of the big things about this is, excuse me, as you can see right here, that middle divot, that is to align the cam inside this inside the head. So you really don't want to just kind of put this on haphazardly, because you can and will run into issues with this thing locating itself. Placement of this is placement of the cam in reference to the journals is extremely important. So you want to make sure that this end cap does capture the cam. So you see how the cam just moved a little bit. Just make sure that got a little bit of play in there. And as we've done with the other one, make sure that you're not actually engaging any of the lifters, just so it's easier to torque down. So we may have to do some finagling. Actually, might be okay. Actually, hold on, no, we're not. So, fuck it. So, yeah. Just push those down. And on this one, this houses your cam seal. Just kind of push it in some, and then put your end cap on, and should be good to go. So cool. So all we have to do now, just I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get to it at this exact point or not, is just put on our put in our bolts, and those have a, as I said before, a specific sequence that they need to go into and a specific torque setting. Again, it's important that you follow that so that you don't tear shit up that you don't really need to tear up. So cool. So we're almost done. Just got a couple more things to do, but for the most part, the engine is back together. So cool. All right, what up, y'all? So this is like day 3 or 4 or whatever. In any case, we're out here again. It's still a little drizzling and stuff. So I'm trying to finish up this Integra. We're almost done. So all we have to do now, torque down the cam caps, put on the exhaust manifold, hook up some of the coolant hoses, put on the dizzy, time this thing, and we will be good to go. Oh, and drain the oil too, because I haven't done that yet. So not a lot of stuff to do, especially considering all that we've done so far. So here we go. All right, so what we're doing right now, we're just dropping the bolts into the cam caps. So for the B series, or at least this one, there's 2 different length bolts. So on the inner portion, so of either side, so the side closest to the spark plug hole, you have your long bolts, and on the outer side, whether it's close to either manifold, you have the shorter bolts. So it should make sense. There's not a lot of meat for the long bolts to thread into on the outside, so try not to force one of those to go in there. It may not go well. And I just dropped one. Yay. Cool. So, yep. Alright, so now we got all of our cam bolts kind of threaded in. Now we can go through our torquing sequence. Alright guys, so kind of skipped over a couple things, but it's nothing really major. It's everything that I've covered in the beginning of this little video series. So yeah, so pretty straightforward. Something that you could do at home yourself in a few hours if you know what you're doing, or just spend like a weekend just kind of doing whatever. But as you can tell, running and idling just fine. So thanks for watching.